Yeah, tell me, I want to know a little bit, we touched on it briefly, maybe some of the follow-ups and like lead management. What are some of the stuff that you're putting into practice for your clients, or some of the stuff you'd recommend? Do you have a little more maybe specific takeaways that proprietors
Yeah,
could use in their own
sure.
centers?
Yeah, I can show you just a couple of things, right? And one, I'm going to give credit to actually to Beth Stanley because she was the first one to kind of really expose me to this idea. Thanks, Beth, and I'll at least give credit where credit's due. And for example, like here we are in summer, and so it would have been a great time to get daycares, right? It probably should have started back in like maybe April to kind of get ready for now. So sometimes it's overwhelming on how you would actually get daycares in the door. And so you could do old fashioned methods like go visit them, cold call them, stuff like that. But if you have a meeting room, like my center had a nice little banquet room that we would actually send out invitations to the local daycare center operators saying, hey, come be our guest for kind of like a lunch and learn event. No sales pressure, just a very brief presentation. They would talk about our daycare packages and how to book them and things like that. Our sales director would basically lead it. We'd feed them with like soup and sandwich. And at the end of the event, basically let them sample bowling for about an hour. And then at that event, offer them pretty much our daycare booking flyers along with a promotion to where maybe book 3, get 1 free or something like that. But probably what I've done now with people who have the game cards systems, Intercard or any
Mm,
of those where you
yeah.
can preload the cards, if you've had a center and when 100 kids come pouring in at once and the operator's trying to keep them in line, most of those kids will have like video game money. And if it's cash and you have a teller machine, it's backed up. If you do tokens, it can be just total chaos. So
Right.
what we did was offer daycare centers the chance to basically pre-buy $10 game cards for $5.
Yeah.
And it did
Great
two
deal
things.
for
Two
both.
things. One, it certainly avoided the line at the front counter, or which made it easier to operate and better guest experience. But
Mhm.
two, we encourage daycare centers to sell those for $10. So
Ah, okay. Yeah.
all of a sudden, they're actually getting paid to bring the kids to our center. So they could do a parents send $10 if your kid wants an arcade card, $10. Maybe we charge 5 or 6 for the daycare visit. They're basically getting free trips, and so that seemed
Yeah.
to work very well. And
And that's
that's
part of your
again,
presentation when you have them in the room?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Explain how the game
Okay.
cards work and things like that. And if you did it with tokens, you could do it. If you have a rev share with a vendor, you may have to work out the details. If you're
Sure.
doing it with quarters, you probably couldn't do it. But any kind of game cards or tokens, and I think in the same sense, we've done a similar type of lunch and learns, bringing in like HR directors from local companies, having 5 minutes to talk about maybe how a way to team build through bowling can be a good way to boost morale
Oh,
without
yeah.
spending a lot of money. It
Mhm.
really does is it allows you to leverage the time of your sales director because to make 50 cold calls
Yeah.
and follow up takes a lot of time, right? If you want, not saying you shouldn't follow up with email or cold or return calls or maybe some
Sure.
paid ads, but I like the idea of driving them all to an event,
Right.
educating them slightly, presenting them with an offer that way and at scale because you can get 20, 30, 40 people in a room at one time.
Yeah.
You're going
Is
to get,
that usually how many you get? 20 to 40?
it depends on the market, right? So, like in a big
Yeah.
market, you can get easily that. Some small towns, if you're rural and you have 8 or 10 lanes, you're probably gonna have to cap out it. If you get 10 companies in for that and
Right.
book 2 or 3, that's still a win.
Yeah. Yeah, still, and if your average ticket is 500 to
Yeah,
1,000 or 1,500,
exactly.
that's a pretty good day.
And I think that's what's interesting too, because our industry, we've got sole proprietors that are running 8 laners and kind of in the middle of the. We had a center in North Dakota when I was working at USBC, right? And we flew out there to try to help them do their youth league. We didn't know any better. We'd never been in North Dakota. I'd never been to North Dakota, so I actually sent one of my cohorts because I didn't want to go there. He went in the middle of November, and it was like well below zero. I
Yeah.
think the town was something like 8,000 people, right? But using our paid ads, driving people to like a registration page for kind of like a free open house event, still brought in I think close to 200 families for the event
Wow. Yeah.
and floored like 20 something kids into a new league. And I think that's a win because I was honestly doubting that would work in their market because it was too small. But I think the ability with Facebook to really narrow in on your
It's
targets
true, yeah.
and the advertising costs are cheaper. But I mean, even that to me, I was like, man, this stuff actually works. It
Yeah.
actually works in a small market like that. And then we,
It almost works better. So we have some clients. We have one client who is in a town of 800 people,
wow,
and he's seen 35% increase in his food and beverage. And
nice.
I find that it's almost easier in the small markets because it's less competition. So there's
Yeah.
not a lot of businesses out there that are advertising there or doing it right. So
Mhm.
you can stand out so much further just by doing some of the basics.
Yeah,
I
that's
found it
good.
almost works better with the smaller markets, the smaller centers.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think the guys and gals who come to Bowl Expo and sit in on the learning seminars and kind of pick up real world knowledge and actually go apply it in those markets, like you're saying, where people aren't applying it yet.
Yeah,
And
they
there's
crush
minimal
it.
competition to crush it. I mean, they
Hmm.
absolutely crush it. And
Yeah. What's it? Big fish, small pond kind of thing.
it is exactly.
Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.